Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mixtape Podcast. A podcast. This is not the movie, a podcast where we review movies from a screenwriter's perspective. And I say that because there have been a couple of people that have been asking where the movie is. It's a podcast. It's not the movie. We're reviewing the movie, and this is a podcast. And this week, we are reviewing a movie that I love to hate. A movie that is so bad, it's actually good. A cult movie. We are reviewing 1995's Showgirls. I'm just going to give a minute for applause because I know the boys are going to love this one. Even though this was my pick, this was not Marcelo's pick. This was my pick because I love this movie. It's so, like I said, it's so bad. It's good. I'm your host. My name is Dean. I'm joined as always by Marcelo. If you like what we have to say, please subscribe and make sure you stick around to the end because I do have some doozies of trivia. This movie was bombed at the box office, but it was directed by a really good director, Paul Verhoeven, who directed another one of our reviewed movies, RoboCop. It was written by, and this is a little bit of trivia right now. It was written by Joe Estehaz. Now, I looked him up because the writing in this movie is actually terrible, but he's written a lot, and these are two of the movies, two of his biggest movies that he's written. So he wrote Flashdance, and I was like, before this, and he wrote Basic Instinct, which is probably the most well-written movie I've ever
Wait a
seen in
minute.
my life.
Wait a minute. Where the hell did his brain go for this movie?
I
He
don't
wrote.
know.
Hold the phone. He wrote Basic Instinct and Flashdance. First of all, guys, just real quick. I'm sorry. I don't mean to steal your thunder here, Dean.
No, go for
But
it.
Basic Instinct is one of my favorite Sharon Stone movies.
Yeah, it's
It is
amazing.
so well written. And
Yeah.
Flashdance, come on. You can't go wrong with Flashdance.
Yeah. I mean, he's written other stuff, but I went, whoa, where was your head at, dude? You're actually a really good writer. But anyway, we'll get into the writing. So, this is the plot. Carefree young drifter Nomi arrives in Vegas to become a dancer and sets about clawing her way to the top. Now, for people that have seen this movie, because I'm sure that you have, there is a documentary called "You Don't Know Me," and it's all about how it's behind the scenes on Showgirls, interviews with all the cast and crew, how it came to be, how it bombed at the box office. Like, it's actually a really, really good documentary. If you're a fan of this movie and you want to check it out, it's called You Don't Know Me. It's difficult to find, but if you find it, it's really good. So anyway, the opening scenes of Showgirls is this. We meet Nomi, which is Elizabeth Berkley, and she's hitchhiking. A guy picks her up in a truck, and immediately she pulls out a knife. Now, this is not so bad because she doesn't know who this guy is. She wants to protect herself, so that's okay. And she's angry. She's got this really angry tone like throughout the entire movie, and she's very, very distrustful of people. What have I written? She tells him she's going to Vegas because she wants to be a dancer. That's what she wants to do with her life. They arrive in Vegas. They go into a casino. He says his uncle can get her a job as a dancer. So she waits for him, and then she realizes, oh shit! She runs out of the casino, and he has basically done a runner with his truck, but it's got her suitcase in it because she was hitchhiking, and she freaks out. She literally like starts yelling, starts pounding on someone's car in the parking lot. And that's that scene. But I feel like through the entire movie, the character of Nomi is very dramatic. Her emotions are very they're very extra. They're very overbearing. And what I noticed when I watched this for I don't know how many other times I've seen this movie, I realized that the way that she reacts to people is very childlike. It's very tantrums. It's like she doesn't know how to control her emotions when someone does something she doesn't like. She stamps her foot, she yells, and then she runs off like a toddler. I don't know if that was the character or if Paul Verhoeven said, yes, do that, be over the top, or if Elizabeth Berkley was just doing it. But I did notice that she wasn't sociable. She didn't know. And if you watch the movie, you can see she's childlike. Even when she works at like the strip club and when she becomes a dancer, she's very childlike in the way that she talks to people and the way that she reacts. And even the Versace thing, and she doesn't know how to pronounce Versace. Like, she's just like a kid in a candy store in Vegas. I don't know if you noticed that, but I definitely noticed that in her character in the movie. So now that I'm done talking, what did you think?
No, I really really did notice that as well. She is very very extra because, like Dean mentioned, that first scene when when she's trying to pick up a ride and she picks up a ride from this Elvis impersonator guy, she's very 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 distrustful, and this is like way before she puts the knife up to the guy's throat. She hitches a ride all the way to Vegas. She trusts this greaser guy who obviously is going to leave her there at the casino. Um, she's very very trusting of people, and like Dean said, when things don't go her way, she really really goes from 0 to like 100. I really didn't like that. I feel that Paul Verhoeven should have told Elizabeth Berkley, like, just bring it down like 60% because it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And again, maybe Dean is right. Maybe that's what Paul was going for. Or maybe it's a decision that Elizabeth Berkley made about how she's going to play the character, but it was goddamn ridiculous. The other thing that I really love about this movie is it's a cautionary tale
Mm.
because I feel that at the beginning of the movie, Naomi has a sense of innocence and a sense of childhood wonder, but as she gets deeper and deeper into the world of dance, she gets corrupted, and
Yeah.
as she gets corrupted, her friends around her, who she meets along the way, suffer for it.
Yeah. No, that's true. So, as Nomi is freaking out in the parking lot, a woman comes up because it's her car that she's banging on and is trying to calm her down, ends up buying her dinner because she could see Nomi's in distress. And Nomi tells her, this guy drove off with all my stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have money. And this woman, whose name is Annie, and she's going to be like the friend of Nomi through the movie, asks if she wants to stay with her until she gets on her feet, which is nice considering like she doesn't even know who this woman is. And then the weirdest line of dialogue, but now that I'm thinking about her childlike mentality, it kind of makes sense. So Annie says, "Do you want to stay with me until you get on your feet?" And Nomi says, "Are you hitting on me?" Which is really weird to like. It's a really weird dialogue to say, but because Nomi is so childlike, she doesn't know anything else. And when we hear a little bit of her backstory, which there isn't fucking much, I'm gonna get into her fucking the non-existent of her backstory. It does kind of make sense why she was saying that because she just thinks everybody wants to have sex with her. Nobody just wants to do anything nice to her. I do get it, but it was just a bit like, oh, that's such a weird thing to say. And Nomi is also very like combative when asked about her past. Anytime anybody asks about her past, she basically crosses her arms across her chest, puts her head down, and goes, "No, I'm not talking about it." And that's very,
Do
very
you think
childlike.
Do you think that she was sexually abused in a potential like trailer park, and she's sort of like running away from she's running away from her life, and that's why when anybody in the course of the film asks about her childhood, she and that's the reason why she's so combative.
But it wasn't said though. Nothing was
Right.
said. It feels like she's emotionally stunted at like 12. That's what it feels like. An adult body, but emotionally, she has the emotions of a 12-year-old. That's what it feels like. But anyway, what did you think about the meeting between Annie and Nomi?
Listen. Like you said, I really think that Annie is a generous person because she basically took this crazy fucking woman off the street who was trying to who was crying on her car and offered her a meal. But again, like I just said 2 seconds ago, when Annie and Naomi sit down for a meal, Naomi grabs one of the soft drinks and starts she takes the straw and starts puncturing the soft drink to the point of madness.
Like
She
a kid.
fucking
And
she
she puts the
yeah,
sauce on the fries like a kid.
yeah, and and also when Naomi asks her about her childhood, I'm sorry, when Annie asks Naomi about her childhood, she takes the fries and splashes them all over the table. I'm like, who
Yeah.
fucking does that?
Like a
Who the
kid.
hell? does that.
Yeah.
But the one thing, listen, the one thing I will say is I don't necessarily agree with that character choice. And again, like I said before, I don't know who it came from, but I'm really glad that whoever made that decision, whether it was Paul Verhoeven or or Elizabeth Berkley, I'm glad that she stuck with it,
Mm.
and they didn't decide to change that character trait for Naomi midway through the movie because that would have been
Yeah.
really disconcerting.
Yeah. They were like, Nomi's gonna be like this and she's gonna be this like this all the way to the end, which is good, which worked. So now we've gone 6 weeks later. And the girls are living together in Annie's trailer and have formed a pretty close friendship. It's nice. They're giggling, they're laughing, and Annie asks Nomi to come to work with her because Nomi works at night, and we'll find out where she works later. She works at night, and she's like, "What are you going to do here? Sit down and eat chips and like just watch TV?" So Nomi agrees to go to work with Annie, and this is kind of where the movie kind of pushes forward a little bit. So, what do you think about that short scene and their friendship?
Yeah, I really really like the skip to 6 weeks later to see that Naomi is living with Annie, and it's really really nice to see their relationship and how much it's grown because let me tell you something. I always wanted a friend like that growing up that would just sit around with me and watch TV and eat chips all day long. So when I saw that, that was very, very effective. That was very effective for me because when I was growing up, that's everything that I ever wanted. But like Dean said, the next thing that happens when Annie takes Naomi to work really propels the film forward and sort of introduces Naomi to the world that is going to lead to her rise and her downfall.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're at Annie's workplace. And she's a seamstress at a Vegas showgirls show called
Uh,
the
uh, the golden something.
fuck, what's the show called? The Empress show?
Y-
Fuck, I forgot what it's called.
yeah, I fuck it. I forgot
Anyway,
what it's
that's
called.
but it's funny because they've been okay. Nomi has come to Vegas to be a dancer. Annie works at a Las Vegas pretty high up showgirls show. Why has it taken 6 weeks for her to go to Annie's workplace to see the show, the goddess? It's the goddess show. To see the goddess show for the first time. I thought that was a bit weird.
No, you know what? You know what? Because I think that when Naomi says when Naomi said that she came to Vegas to be a dancer, I think that Naomi knows deep in her heart that she will only get one sort of job. I think Naomi wants
Mm.
more, but I think that Naomi knows that she can only get one job
Yeah.
for the moment, and
Yeah.
I really don't think that. Listen, I really don't think that Naomi had it in her head that if I follow my friend to work, I could potentially make some I can potentially make some connections that will lead to better things. And the other thing is that Naomi's job requires her to sleep for most of the day.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, look. That might be writer's convenience, and it probably is.
Yeah.
But that's how I can rationalize that's how I rationalize it in my own head. I don't know if that works for you.
Yeah, no, I'll take that. I'll take that because I'll take it. So Annie tells Nomi go to watch the show from upstairs because they're about to go on. So Nomi watches the Vegas show and is in absolute awe of it, of the dancing, of everything. And there's a woman, a showstopper, the star of the show, Crystal Connors, played by Gina Gershwin. And she's dancing up a storm. And this is when we see the first boobies because the show is interesting. The show is not a real, obviously, Las Vegas show because there's no way they'd be able to get away with what they do in the show. Uh, the goddess show that Nomi is watching, it starts off normal, and then when Gina Gershwin comes out, she's topless, she's just got a G-string on. Then all the dancers get into their G-strings, including the men, and I'm like, oh, it's just like a boob show. It's a booby show, but Nomi is taken aback by her. She wants to be her. You can see in Elizabeth Berkley's eyes just by one look that she wants to be this woman. She wants to be the star. She wants to be the center of attention. This is what she wants. And from this moment on, this is all she can think about. She wants to be this woman. I thought that that was really good. See, the thing is, Elizabeth Berkley is not a bad actress. She's not bad. It's just the character and the material she was given was not fantastic. But anyway, this pushes the story forward. This gives Nomi a motivation to do something different.
Yeah, when when she meets the her main adversary for this movie, and she sees the type of Las Vegas show that it is, I think that she really gets an idea of what really being a high quality, no nonsense dancer in Las Vegas could be like, and I really think that she has a sense of hero worship when she looks at the young woman who is leading the troops in the dance sequence.
Yeah.
And I really think that this is the beginning of Naomi getting the kernel of the idea in her head. I'm going to be as good as this woman is, or I'm going to die
Mm.
trying. Also,
Yeah.
listen, when it comes to Elizabeth Berkley, when I was a little kid, guys, I grew
Mm.
up watching Saved by the Bell.
Mm.
So I don't blame Elizabeth Berkley for this movie. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say about this movie, just one thing. This movie made my boyhood dreams come true for obvious reasons, but also
Yes.
I will say that this movie's failings and its successes fall solely on the hands of the writer and Paul Verhoeven, who I love, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny because when I tell you the list of actresses that wanted this role, like in Hollywood, you had Paul Verhoeven as a director doing this like raunchy movie. There were A-list actresses auditioning for this because it was the
are,
talk of the town. So when it
are you
came out,
kidding
people
me?
were like, "What the fuck?" No, when I tell you who auditioned, oh, you're gonna die.
Oh, oh, I can't wait
Anyway,
for that.
yeah. So Annie introduces Nomi to Crystal Connors, the icon that Nomi just goes, I want to be like her. And she says, "Oh, I'm a dancer too." And Crystal goes, "Where do you dance?" She goes, "I dance at the Cheetah." And Crystal looks at her and she says, "Darling, if you dance there, it's not really dancing." And Nomi, just being extra as she always is, just yells at her, "You don't know shit." And then she just storms off like a child. She has no filter. She has no social etiquette at all. So these two, Nomi and Crystal, the screenwriter is trying to set them up as rivals, but it doesn't work because it bounces back and forth. It's like, do they like each other? Does Crystal like her? Does she hate her? Like, you just sometimes you don't know because sometimes she's nice and sometimes she's not. The rivalry didn't land
It
for
didn't
me.
work. It didn't
It
work. It
didn't
didn't
work.
work
It didn't work. So what do you think about
because
that?
the rivalry between between Crystal and Naomi, like Dean said, half of the time Crystal hates Naomi because Crystal is aware that Naomi is the next girl up and is the hot new thing, and if anything goes wrong, which it will in this movie, Naomi
Mm.
will make it to the top when Crystal will get discarded. Other times, Crystal is sort of like this mentor towards Naomi and is trying to
Mm.
educate her in the ways of being a proper educated showgirl is
Mm.
concerned. So I really don't know.
Yeah.
And there are at least two scenes when it's indicated that Crystal has potential feelings for Naomi.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is Crystal gay or is she bi? Because Crystal is with a sleazy executive guy who we'll meet later on in the movie. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I definitely agree with you that the screenplay writer didn't really define that relationship
Mm.
or define
Yeah.
that rivalry in any sort of meaningful way.
Yeah, I was very confused by that. So Annie and Nomi Nomi blows off work. She's like, "Let's go to a nightclub." So they go to a nightclub. And okay, Nomi is I don't know if she's supposed to be set up as a good dancer or not a good dancer. Because the dancing she's doing in this nightclub is the worst dancing I've ever seen. And I used to work at a nightclub. That's a fact. So I'm like, she's like throwing her hands everywhere and it doesn't look choreographed. It just looks like the director went, look, Elizabeth, just do whatever the fuck you want. But it's probably choreographed. That's the sad thing. That's the scary thing about it. So a man, James, who works there. Now, James, you could take James out of the movie. He has nothing to do with anything. He just, he's so useless as a character. He spots her dancing and he tells her she has potential. And I was like, what are you
But
talking about? And
how?
then I don't know, but then he starts dancing and he's also horrible. He's also really bad. And I'm like, oh my God, they actually think that they're good. And for some reason, he says something, she doesn't like it, she kicks him in the balls, and they both get hauled out. Again, you could do without. James comes in and out of the movie, but he doesn't teach her a lesson. She doesn't learn anything from him. He's just there to be there, in my opinion.
No, yeah, no, but he's there to be there. But he also does say one of the most iconic lines of one of the greatest lines of the movie that makes no fucking sense at all. He said, he says to her later on, you don't know the difference between dancing or fucking. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing he says has to do with anything.
Yeah, and I'm
Nothing.
like, what?
I know. So we're at the Cheetah Lounge where Nomi works. And it's a topless bar or topless strip club. And Nomi's backstage waiting to go on stage. And Crystal and her BF, Zach, walk in because Nomi told Crystal that this is where she works and Crystal wants to see. So Nomi comes out on stage and it's really interesting because when Nomi's at a nightclub, she's a really shitty dancer, but when she's on stage, it looks really good. Like her dancing is actually quite good. And she comes on stage and she dances and she strips and she does the pole thing and listen, it takes so much strength for girls to lift your own body weight. It's so much strength. I mean, I know boys look at it and they're like, "Oh, that's sexy." And it is sexy, but for like Elizabeth Berkley's like body in this movie is like amazing. Like it is amazing. Like she has the strength of a guy in this movie. Like you can just she doesn't have muscles, but she's got the strength and her body is just like so good. So she's dancing and she takes everything off and she sees it's funny because she sees Crystal and her boyfriend Zach, but she doesn't miss a beat. She sees them, but she still keeps dancing. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Afterwards, when she's finished dancing, Crystal asks Nomi to give her and her boyfriend Zach a private lap dance. And Nomi's like, no, we don't do girls. And Nomi's like, and Crystal's like, well, why don't you just do Zach and I'll watch? And Nomi's like, well, no, we're not, no, I don't want to do it. And then Crystal says, I'll pay you $500 and I'm just going to sit in the background and watch. And then Nomi's boss hears this and he's like, yep, you're going to do it because he gets a cut. That's that scene.
Yeah, yeah. Listen. I truly believe that when Naomi is not, I'm sorry. I truly believe that Naomi really comes into her power when she starts to dance, and
Yeah.
anytime that she's not dancing at the Cheetah or at the Vegas show later on, Naomi is a little weakling toddler. But when she
Mm.
dances, that's when we see the real Naomi, and that's when we see the powerful girl that's dormant within her when she's not dancing.
She's fierce when
But
she dances. You can see it.
thank you, thank you. But you are so right about Elizabeth Berkley's workout routine for this movie because, guys, it's really hard to be a stripper. I mean, you need upper body strength like the
Yeah, it
yin
is.
yang. Because
Yeah.
if you don't have upper body strength, it's it's fucking hard. And the one thing that I will say um, about Naomi when she gave Zach the lap dance, it's really confusing because like I said a couple moments ago, the fact that Crystal paid her $500 to just watch her sort of indicates that she has feelings for her, but that's not really paid off in the movie at all. But
No, no.
yeah,
Well, what
but
I thought, because they all go into a back room, and then Naomi gives Zach one of the most erotic, bare ass naked lap dances I've ever seen. literally, literally gets butt ass naked, which they usually, I would assume, don't do. I don't know. I've never experienced it. Um, And it's really erotic, and the way that she moves is very sexy. Like it looks choreographed, but Elizabeth Berkley just does a really, really good job. Yeah, so she gives him a lap dance. I think that Crystal watches not because she has feelings, but because she wants to see she wants to see Nomi vulnerable. And when you're naked in public, you're vulnerable. It's like she just I don't know. I don't think it's a feelings thing. She just wants to see Nomi basically do that, which is demoralizing. It really is. It's demoralizing. That's what I think. Because Crystal's a bitch.
Yeah, but she's a bitch with a kind of smile and a cowboy hat. Listen, the other thing that I was thinking throughout the scene, I really shouldn't be thinking this, but I was like, poor Elizabeth Berkley, how many times did they have to shoot that? She probably got like whiplash from the way that she was from the way that she was
Yeah, the
doing
way she
that. It
was
was like,
gyrating on him. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Like
like,
nothing
really?
on, nothing on, nothing on. Like she
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
wearing a oh god, what do they call it? Merkin? Is that what it's
Uh,
called?
yeah, American. Yeah, it was
Yeah, she
fuck
wasn't
the
even wearing
American.
that.
No,
Like it was just like all
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, because you could totally see her hoo ha. So it was like it's all
Yeah,
there.
like she didn't like I reckon like she could have worn one. I reckon they would have asked her. She just chose not to, which I thought was
She
really badass, really. It's
Yeah,
badass.
she's a champ. She's a champ. She just went for it.
Yeah, she is. So anyway, after that, James, the guy from the club who means nothing about anything in the story, who she kicked in the balls, sees her at the Cheetah, then comes to her. He says, "You've got more natural talent of any other dancer that I've ever seen." What are you talking
What?
about?
Where did you get
What
that
are you
from?
talking? Okay, James. Okay, take another swig of the vodka. I don't know what's going on. And Nomi gets over dramatic as usual, then storms off because again he said something that not that, but he said something else that she didn't like, and she just stormed off like a child. It's a nothing. That's again, James means nothing in this movie. He's nothing.
It's a nothing burger. I mean, you could. I
Yeah,
mean, it would have been really cool if the writer of this movie or Paul Verhoeven added like a love interest for Naomi and gave her a
an arc.
person that's yeah, yeah, gave her well, not only give her not only give her an arc because she deserved one,
Yeah,
but gave her a moral center, gave her a character
yeah.
that would be able to show her the goodness in her. And do you know
Mm.
how awesome it would? Do you know how awesome
Yeah,
it would have been to see him get heartbroken when she went to the dark side?
yeah. No, that would have been good, but that's not what we
That would
got.
have been great. I
No, I
know, I
know.
know.
So Nomi's dancing again at the Cheetah, and a man gives her a card and says he wants her to audition to be a showgirl at the Vegas nightclub in the Goddess show. So she goes to the audition, and it gets down to like the final three girls when the boss, the manager, tells them to remove their bras, and they're kind of standing there like, "What?" And he goes, "This is the topless show. I have to see it." And they kind of all do it. They do the dance sequence topless, which would be really hard. So no, they start dancing, and then he. This is really weird. He goes to Nomi, and he goes, "Why aren't your nipples erect?" I don't know why that has to do with anything in the show, or like it's a fucking rehearsal. And she's like, okay. She doesn't really know what to say. And he's like, just play with them a little bit. And she starts kind of doing it, but she's still unsure. She's still got that childlike thing. So he brings over some ice, and he goes, put these on them, or do you want me to do it? And she takes a beat. She looks at him. You can see Elizabeth Berkley's or Nomi's thinking. And then she just throws the ice in his face and runs off like a child. And I was like, oh my God, all this is what she's always wanted, right? And I understand that this is just, it's too much, but the way that she reacted again was childlike. Crystal comes backstage and tells Nomi that she got her the audition and tells her basically, well, Nomi says, did you enjoy that? And Crystal says, yes. So Crystal did that on purpose just to see Nomi squirm, just like the lap dance. So that again, they're trying to set up a rivalry that's not really set up because Crystal does a lot of shit to Nomi that is kind of unwarranted and a bit shitty. But anyway, what did you think about that sequence?
It No, but it's like poking the bear when you think about everything that Crystal does to Naomi. throughout the course of this movie. Okay, so I really, really wanted to smack the shit out of this guy that was auditioning these women. That was auditioning these women for the show at the hotel. But as I was watching the scene, as Dean said, I'm not a woman, but in the back of my head, or at least I think I'm not a woman.
No, we're not getting into that conversation. You man, me woman. The end.
Yeah, the end. But I imagined that hurt, women dancing around like that would hurt. But it was really disheartening to see Naomi be put in that situation, react the way that she did, and
Yeah.
have to run off.
Yeah. So now Nomi's exiting the lounge after her run out of the audition and bumps into James because he's gotten a new job and he's working as a concierge outside of the where she rehearses. And he's this fucking guy.
He's useless, I think.
He's talking to her and his boss is like, "Hey, can you get back to work?" And he just tells his boss to fuck off and he gets fired. And it's like, "Why would you get fired?" To How many jobs does this guy have? He got fired
No,
from the
but
nightclub,
also
got fired from this.
no, but also wouldn't he need this job to live?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
nobody who starts a new job would act that way with their boss because you need your job to live and you need your job to pay rent. Hey, you need your job to put food on the table.
Apparently, he doesn't give a shit. So he takes her back to his place, and it's funny because as they're driving back, he's like, I'll get you a burger." So she's eating a burger, very childlike, very, "Oh my god, yay! I've just gotten in a car with someone I don't know. He bought me a burger, and now we're going back to his place." Very childlike mentality. So he teaches her because he goes, he's a dancer and he wants to teach dancing. So he teaches her some of the worst dance moves I have ever seen. And he thinks that they're good. And I'm like, maybe in 1995 they were good. I don't know. So Nomi gets a call that she's got the showgirl job, which is interesting because she stormed out. She goes back to the Cheetah nightclub. She quits her job. She tells James, but he's not happy about it because he goes, "I thought we were working together," which is like, be happy for your friends that when they succeed. Like, don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not. He's like, "Oh,
But
you've gotten your dreams, but what about me?" It's like, I don't know you, dude.
but what qualifies James as her friend? She has only interacted with James a couple times in this movie, so he has no right
No,
to
I know.
feel
I know.
betrayed by Naomi because Naomi, like you said, Naomi doesn't even fucking know this guy.
I know. But then the funny part is, Nomi, when she goes to his place to tell him the good news, sees a girl in his bed and gets pissed off. Like, she doesn't even like him. Like, maybe it's because he thought that she was special. I don't know, very childlike, but she gets pissed off. And it's like, you've known this guy, you've met this guy twice. He's got someone else. Like, because she even said, like, "I thought you said I was special." And I'm like, oh my God. It's like a 12-year-old. I mean, it is. But anyway, those are a bunch of scenes that I just compacted because I did. So what did you think?
Yeah, with the whole James relationship, I think I've said it in the small little comments that I peppered in there while Dean was talking.
Mm,
He doesn't need to be in this movie. His reaction towards Naomi when she gets the job at the show, that I feel is just Crystal sort of using her
messing with her.
power as
Yeah.
sort of using her power as the headliner of the show to fuck with Naomi a little bit more. Dean put it a little bit nicely, but I'm not. She used her power to fuck with her.
But why would she put her in the show? Why wouldn't she just blacklist her if she really didn't like her? Or maybe she's just like masochistic and she's like, she wants to
No,
torture her.
no, that's it. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Crystal is masochistic,
Yeah.
and she wants to control Naomi, and
Yeah.
she wants to control her downfall. What she
Mm.
doesn't think, however, is what's going to happen because she thinks that she is going to control Naomi from the moment that she steps in. But the
Mm.
problem with Naomi is that she's a little fucking sex pot. And
Yeah.
Naomi is going to use what she's got to
Yeah.
jump her over and go for the motherfucker that she gave the lap dance to, that
Yeah.
Crystal brought to the strip joint just a couple scenes ago.
Yeah. So it's still not, I don't know. Again, I like this movie. It's just a bit like
Yeah.
all over the joint.
Yeah,
So this is
no, no,
interesting.
I mean, this movie is great, but it's a little bit all over the place when it comes to story.
It's disjointed. It's a bit just disjointed. So Nomi goes into the office because she's told, we need your information. And she's just she's giving her information, age, you can tell she's lying. She lies about her age, she lies about her family. They ask her for her social security number, but she goes, "Oh, I'll have to get back to you." So she sees Zach, and he's the entertainment coordinator, but he's with Crystal. And he congratulates her and says, "Nice dress," because she's actually wearing a really nice black dress that she bought before with Annie. And she says, "Oh, thank you. It's a Versace." And he's like, again, childlike, because she's a 20-something-year-old woman. She should know that's not how it's pronounced. And he comes up to her and he says, "It's Versace." And she's like, "What?" He goes, "It's pronounced Versace." And she's like, "Oh, shit. Okay." And I think that was, I remember reading, I think that was Elizabeth Berkley's take on it. I think
Contribution.
yeah, contribution. I think she said, like, I don't know if Nomi would be able to pronounce that actually how it's pronounced. So, because it's got silent letters. But
See,
I liked it.
see, see. This is where, I mean, look, in this scene, it does a really good job of showing you how sort of outside of the world Naomi is and how childish she is. And this scene just made me really, really want to find out
Mm,
where she fucking came from,
yeah, which we
because
kind of
we
never do.
know nothing. How did again? How did a guy who have written previously? How did a good screenplay writer come up with this? Maybe it was his bad day at the office.
We all have bad days. We all have bad days. But anyway, Nomi goes in for her first official rehearsal. And she's good. She's Elizabeth Berkley. You can see how much time she put into getting these dance moves right. Because the choreographer says to her, Nomi, "Okay, you're gonna watch them rehearse through it once and then you're gonna jump in." And Nomi goes, "Okay." And she watches them rehearse once, she jumps in and she can just do it. Like, good on her for picking up the moves so fucking quick. Like, because the guy says you're in the show tonight. And I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna learn an entire 2 hour show's dance routine for tonight. Good on, look, I know there are people that can learn stuff like that, like really fast, but I'm not one of them. But good on her for learning it that fast. So now we see Nomi in the Goddess show. And she actually does really well. She does really well. She hits all her marks, and you can tell, you can see how happy it makes her. So, what did you think? And by the way, I know you're not going to say it, but I will. Elizabeth Berkley's boobies they're just perfect. They are so are Gina Gershwin's, but Elizabeth
Yep.
Berkley has the nicest pair of boobs. They're just perfect size, perfect looking. They're everything that I aspire to have. She's just great.
Would you say that they're heavenly? Because I would say that.
They are, because they're perfect. If there
Yeah.
was if there was a perfect pair of boobs, Elizabeth Berkley's, for
Yeah.
sure. But anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, but I listen. I think it's a really interesting character trait that Naomi can see the dancing routine once and then just do it, because, like Dean said, she wouldn't be able to do that. And guess what, guys? I can't be able to do that either. So
Mm.
I thought that was a very, very good character trait that the writer gave the mysterious character of Naomi throughout this movie.
Yeah. So the next scene is a bit weird. Crystal asks Nomi to go for lunch. And it's a weird conversation. They start talking about how they used to eat dog food and how it was yum. And
How
there's
how Crystal you see, yeah, because Naomi brings up the dog food thing, and then Crystal goes, I ate dog food. But it's a really weird scene though.
it's weird because they have this conversation that goes back and forth, but there's kind of no point. You don't learn anything about Crystal. You don't learn anything about Nomi. You could take that scene out and it has no bearing on anything. Like, are they trying to be friends? Are they trying to not? Like, it's just not. I don't know. And then they go back to the stage to rehearse together and they start sexy dancing with each other. And this is where I think you would be like, oh, does Crystal have a thing for Nomi? Like they're really like gyrating on each other and like sexy dancing to the nine. The thing is, the sexual chemistry between them, it's not set up and it's not there. So it just looks like a really disjointed scene. It's really weird.
I really think that Paul Verhoeven and the writer were trying to push a relationship between them, but like Dean just said, it didn't work because it just wasn't there. The scene previously with them at the restaurant talking about nothing that leads to them rehearsing and dancing. The scene with them rehearsing and dancing was set up because the gay choreographer guy who runs the show said to Naomi before he said that you're gonna be in the show tonight. He said, I'm gonna send you someone to help you work on the dance moves and to help you get the routine down, down, down. And I really think that he's the one that's saying that he's the person that he was referring to was Crystal. So that's why Crystal asked Naomi out to dinner, and then that's why we see them working on the routine together on stage in the next scene.
Oh, I didn't get that at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything else, but I didn't get that. It could be. It could have. You could be like so right about that. So Nomi gets asked by her boss to do a job dancing on a boat for $1,000, and she's like, "Oh my god, it's just dancing." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's just dancing on a boat." So we go to it's a boat show, and she's just, you know, she's dancing on a boat with another girl, and Crystal recommended her to do it. She's like, "Oh, okay," because she's childlike. She doesn't understand that Crystal is trying to literally like murder her. So,
Yeah.
but by now she should know, but she doesn't because she should know that Crystal doesn't have her best interests at heart, but she doesn't because she's very childlike. When she finishes her dance on the boat, she's introduced to a wealthy Japanese businessman and then realizes it's a prostitution gig and storms off. This is the only part of the movie where I'm actually behind her saying fuck you and storming off. Every other scene, I'm like, you could have pulled it back. That was the scene where I went, yep, that was totally warranted. So what do you reckon?
Yes, I am with you 100%. When Naomi notices what the boat gig is and that the boat gig is actually a prostitution gig, I was very pleased with her in that moment. And I said, okay, this one time it's actually justified for you to get the fuck out of there because you don't know this guy. He hasn't been tested. He didn't hire you professionally. You're just a girl showing up to do a gig,
Yeah.
thinking that you're just going to do dancing when you're going to do this. That's not
True.
cool. That is not cool 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Nomi tells Zach what happened, but she's so naive that she doesn't realize that of course he knows because he's the entertainment director of the fucking club, of the show, of everything. He knows everything.
And
So
also he's dating the woman who's trying to fuck with Naomi. But
exactly. So he gets on the phone, he goes, because Nomi's like, oh, I can't believe they tried to do this. And he's like, oh, I'm really fucking mad. He gets on the phone and he calls the guy that asked her to do the boat show and he yells at him on the phone, no, 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 if you do this again, you're out. And, Nomi is just like, has stars in her eyes. Like nobody has ever like done that for her before. Again, very childlike. And basically from this point, she'll just do anything for him because he's done something nice for her and she's not used to people doing nice things for her. But as soon as Nomi leaves the stage, he calls the guy laughing on the phone. So it was just a ruse just to make her feel better, I guess, which is kind of sad.
yeah, it's really unfortunate that after this guy makes the call chastising the guy that did the boat show, Naomi for the rest of the movie bends the knee,
Yeah,
and it's
it
it's
does.
just really really unfortunate. And I think that it was a great choice by Paul Verhoeven to show to the audience that after Naomi leaves the room, to show to the audience that this guy was just fucking with Naomi to get her in his good graces. That will lead to something pretty good for him later on.
Well, this is the next scene. Nomi goes over to Zach's house where I'm going to read out
N-
what I wrote verbatim. Where
No,
they
no
proceed
waiting.
where they proceed to have the most overly dramatic sex I've ever seen. She's flailing around in the pool like a dolphin. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I always find that scene very funny. I'm like, oh my god, can you breathe, honey? Like, fucking hell, her head's go bopping it. Oh my god. If you don't know what I'm saying, you have to watch the movie. Just if only for that scene because it's just so dramatic. Before I move on, what did you think?
I was like, sex doesn't work like that, and I was like, poor Elizabeth Berkley's gonna get a concussion.
If it does, it's a fucking workout. She's gonna put her back out. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
no, no,
Fuck.
but also no, but also just real quickly here, Naomi kind of fucks the same way in the whole movie, right? Because when
Yes.
she initially gives him the lap dance in the club, she does the
Yeah.
same thing, but this time she does it on
Yeah.
water. So
That's true.
she only knows one way to fuck everybody.
Yeah.
That's 100 miles an hour
That's
all the time.
dramatic. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
She doesn't know tenderness.
She doesn't know slow and steady wins the race. She doesn't know that.
Yep, slow and steady, man.
No. But anyway, after that hilarious scene, Nomi auditions for Crystal's understudy, and Zach gives her the job, but then
Of
she
course he
gets a
does.
letter. Yeah. But then she gets a letter saying she didn't get it. And as soon as she gets that letter saying, we regret to inform you, you didn't get it, we see Crystal smiling behind her. So obviously Crystal stepped in and gone, no, fuck her, she's not getting it. So in Nomi fashion, she storms into Zach's office, bypassing his secretary, throws the fucking letter at him, demanding an explanation like a child. Because in the professional world, you don't do that. Ever. But anyway, what did you think?
Yeah, listen, I really felt bad for Naomi, but seriously, when we see Crystal in the background, sort of with this smirk on her face, I started laughing. I was like, I don't, like, of course she did. But then again, when Naomi stormed over to Zach is his name, right? I keep Zach,
Yeah,
right?
Zach. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Naomi stormed over to Zach's office and started complaining about this, I was like, this is part of the course. But the other thing that I found really shitty is that Zach said, "Oh, it's legal," and I kept thinking, it's not the legal department. Your girlfriend
Yeah.
basically vetoed your fucking side hoo ha. So it's not the legal
Yeah.
department. It's this little bitch
Yeah, it
over
is.
here.
Biatch. Yeah, it is. That's true. So now we see Nomi dancing in a really weird dominatrix show. It's still the goddess show, it's just kind of like another part of it, but it's just weird. What they're wearing is weird. It's overly sexual, like to the
It's
point
like
where I'm sitting there like, oh, it doesn't need to be this much.
no,
Yep.
but you know what? But you know what that's like? That
Mm.
it's like a bad a stage version of like a porn parody of a Mad Max movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. And it's, yeah. So anyway, they finish the show. They come back inside. And they have to go downstairs to reach the dressing room. They're going down the stairs, and Nomi pushes Crystal down the stairs. And Crystal's like, oh, my leg, my leg, my leg. Nomi denies it, but Annie saw. Annie saw her do it. And Annie knows she pushed her. And now Crystal is hauled off in an ambulance. Zach puts Nomi in her place. And now Nomi is the star. And we see her perform in the show as the lead from the beginning of the movie. This is what she wanted, and now she's got it, albeit not in a great way, but now she's got it, and you can see she's so happy, and this is her dream come true. She's got it. She's achieved it.
Does it bother you that like Annie like is sort of like in this movie for a bit but then disappears and only shows up again when she sees that Naomi has done something completely unforgivable, pushing that bitch down the stairs?
Yeah, they only bring Annie in when they need her. So what happens to Annie's character at the end, I understand what the point was, but there was still no point. Like, she's just coming in and out, and like the last time we
No,
saw Annie was fucking 40 minutes ago in the movie.
yeah, but if they wanted to do that, Annie should have been a bigger focus. Annie
Yeah.
should have been with Naomi step by step because if Annie was with Naomi from the beginning of the film to the end of it, what happens to her, which is awful,
Yeah.
would have been justified, and it would have been it would have been a rah rah cheer moment
Yeah.
for Nomi when she does what she does.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't get that, did we? We got this. So Nomi
Yeah,
and Annie,
unfortunately.
yeah, Nomi and Annie attend a party in basically Naomi's honor to celebrate her stardom, to celebrate like she's the new star of the show while Crystal is in the hospital. And Annie is introduced to her favorite. Is he like a singer or a magician or something? I don't know what his job is. He's like this famous guy that she's just like in love with. And, he's talking to her and she's like really into him. And so she goes to the bedroom with him. And when she's in the bedroom with him, two of his friends come in and basically beat and rape her. Um, it's weird to have in this movie because this movie is not this. So it felt like something the screenwriter just threw in for something dramatic at the end, or maybe it was studio notes. It just doesn't fit with anything that's happened in the movie because if anything's going to happen to anyone, it should have happened to Nomi because she's our main character. Annie is a side character that you really don't know and you really don't care about. So when that happened to her, I was like, well, this fucking came out of nowhere. But it has nothing to do with anything. And, she's at the hospital. Nomi goes to the hospital. Annie's hauled off to the hospital. Nomi's at the hospital visiting Annie, and Zach finds out about her past and that she's a hooker. She used to be a prostitute, and she got put in jail for drugs, and her parents are both dead. By this point of the movie, nobody cares. Because it doesn't say why she's childlike. It doesn't say why she is the way that she is. It just says, oh, drugs, soliciting, parents dead. That doesn't say why she is the way that she is emotionally. That doesn't say anything. This whole movie, she gets no backstory, and you don't know why she is the way that she is, and you never kind of get a resolution on it.
I think Paul Verhoeven wanted the audience, the situation that Naomi was in, to speak to her character, which I think was a mistake. Because if Paul Verhoeven and the writer took the time to build out Naomi's backstory and explain to us why Naomi walks around in the body of a goddess but has the brain of a 6-year-old, that would make much more sense. And
Yeah.
if the writer and Paul Verhoeven built out the relationship between Annie and Naomi, like I just said a couple of seconds ago, if Annie was with Naomi first step throughout this whole process and
Yeah.
saw how corrupted she was getting, what happens to Annie at the end, which is bad, it came out of nowhere, would
Yeah.
make more sense. Look,
Yeah.
imagine if what happened to Annie at the end happened to both of them.
I just can't believe the guy that wrote Basic Instinct wrote this. I
What the
can't.
hell? What the
I'm
hell?
fucking like confused much. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know
I
how
don't
that
get it.
works.
I
I don't
don't
get
get
it.
it. I don't get it.
So now Nomi's pissed. Nomi's fucking pissed. So she visits the guy that raped and Annie, and basically kicks the shit out of him. That's what she does. And then Nomi goes back to the hospital. She says bye to Annie, and she goes and sees Crystal, who's also in the hospital. And Crystal knows that Nomi pushed her down the stairs because Crystal says, how do you think I got the lead? So she did the same damn thing. So she says bye, and they have a kiss at the end, which is also like, why? Does Crystal like her now? Maybe Crystal respects her now that she's pushed her down the stairs. She's gone, oh, okay, so she's, okay, cool. So she's a heavy hitter. I don't know. And then Nomi starts to hitchhike again, just like the beginning of the movie. So we've fucking done a 360, and a guy in a truck stops, and it's the same guy from the beginning. She has glasses on. She takes her glasses off, and he looks at her, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And she's like, "I want my fucking suitcase back, asshole." And he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then he starts like swerving like on the freeway because she's got her little knife out. And they drive past a billboard sign that reads Nomi Malone in Goddess with a picture of her. And it's interesting because she gave up her dream job for her friend. Because the thing is, if she would have stayed in Vegas, she would have been arrested for beating the shit out of this famous guy. She would have gone to jail. So she left. But she did that for her friend, but she knew that everything she had worked for was going to go to waste, which it's the only time in the movie I actually like respect her. I'm like, you know what? You gave up everything for someone you don't even really know. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome, but it would have hit 100 times more if we would have had Annie throughout the whole course of this fucking film. Look,
Yes, I agree. But anyway, that's it. That's the end of the movie. Now, I know that we've pissed and moaned all over this movie, but I like this movie because, again, it's so bad. It's good. It's a cult classic.
Yeah,
It's,
I love
you
this
can't,
movie, guys.
yeah, I love this movie. It's just, you put it on, it's a popcorn movie. You sit down, it makes you
You
feel
laugh?
good, you laugh. It's a good movie. So, anyway, my trivia. Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Zach, he said when he went to the premiere of the movie, he sat there and he suffered for the whole 2 hours of the movie. He fucking hated it. I find this interesting because this has happened before with Burt Reynolds and Boogie Nights. And I don't understand. Do these
You
actors
took the
not read the
role. What the
script?
fuck? Yeah, you
I
took the
mean,
role,
they
so what
read.
the fuck?
How are you watching the movie and it's any different to what the script is? Unless they edited, I don't know. But you were in the scenes. Like, I don't get it. You knew what this was, and yeah, it was just really odd. So this is really disheartening. Elizabeth Berkley was only paid $100,000.
Oh wow, that sucks.
That's fucking
And
nothing.
she no, but that's it. And she
For, for,
and the li-
for a Paul Verhoeven movie, that's fucking
oh
nothing.
God, no, and the, no, and the thing that sucks about it is that Elizabeth Berkley for most of this movie is in her birthday suit. That
Yeah,
sucks.
exactly. Yeah, so that's fucking, yeah, that's a bit bullshitty. I mean, people knew her. She wasn't a nobody. They knew her. She was a name. So the fact that she got paid so low was just, maybe they didn't have the budget. I have no idea. Poor Elizabeth again. She was dropped by her agent after the film's release. That's how bad the film was. Isn't that shit?
Wow, wow, that's awful. That is so bad.
That's really fucking shit. I
Damn
feel
it,
bad for her.
that's
Anyway,
awful.
yeah, look, if you guys watch the documentary You Don't Know Me, you'll see exactly what she went through, and it's just so fucking heartbreaking. So, next piece of trivia is the movie bombed at the cinema, which everybody knows, but was massive on home video, and it made over $100 million just on rentals.
I wonder why. No.
But like, amazing. Amazing.
Good, good.
Okay.
The only thing I will say, hold up. I will say, God
Yeah.
bless VHS rentals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. God bless VHS rentals. Okay, so Paul Verhoeven actually wanted to do a sequel called Nomi Does Hollywood, but no one would give him the money to make it.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. I'm, I would, you know what? I would have absolutely loved to seen another movie in this universe with Elizabeth Berkley in the lead because we do have a Showgirls too, guys. But that film has nothing to do with this one.
Oh god, I
So,
watched the trailer for Showgirls too. It looks like some dude made it like for $200. That's what the trailer looks
oh,
like.
okay,
It's so
but
bad.
but
So
you've never seen that movie, huh? You've never
no,
seen it,
oh
have
god
you?
no. Oh god no, I
Okay,
just watched the trailer. Okay, so the actresses that auditioned for the role, because this was the hottest role going in Hollywood. We have Pamela Anderson, we have Denise
okay.
Richards, we have Angelina
Ooh.
Jolie,
Oh,
and we have Charlize Theron.
oh
Can
God.
you
What was
imagine
it?
if any one of them got it?
Oh, well,
Wow.
Angelina,
Pamela would have been good.
Angelina,
Pamela would have been good.
Pamela would have been good, but I really, I really reckon Charlize would have been good. Charlize, I
Yeah, she
think
would have been good.
Charlize would
She
have
would.
played it. Yeah, yeah, I think Charlize would have played it more straight.
Yes. Yeah, Charlize would have been really good. So anyway, that is the end of my trivia, and I'm going to wrap the show up if there's nothing else from you.
Nope, go for it.
All right, that's it. That's the end of the show. If you want to email us, you can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. If you want to request anything, comments, anything like that, you can email us. Coming up next week, we have the movie Age of Adeline. This has Blake Lively in it, and it is actually a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely tune into it because it will probably make you want to watch it. It's one of those movies that wasn't really big, nobody really knows about, but is actually really good. So we hope that you come back next week, and please subscribe. Please subscribe to us. We love you. We love everybody that listens, and we hope that you enjoy us as well and give us a thumbs up on YouTube and give us a thumbs up on Spotify and whatever platform you listen to us on. Wrapping up the podcast. This is the end of Showgirls. I know it's sad. I know nobody wants this podcast to end. I do, but maybe the listeners don't. But anyway, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must mean that they really love you. The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.